There are so many reasons why Total War Attila is a much better game in almost every comprehensive way than Rome 2. The only good thing about Rome 2, in my mind, compared to Attila, is the time period. I want so much for the entire structure of Attila to be put into Rome 2. That way, I could play as Rome before it was an empire with the structure of Attila around it. I want that so much, but the fact of the matter is I'll never get it. And the only way that you can play as Rome, well, I love playing as Rome. The only way that I can play as Rome in Attila is when they are just absolutely teetering on disaster. Once you kind of solve the problem of public order and getting attacked by literally 20 different factions at the same time, once you fix that problem, it's kind of boring playing as Roman Empire because you essentially have so much land already. I certainly make sure that if I've lost any, I'll take it back. And after that, it's like, well, you're already a superpower. The point is to start from nothing or start from very little on the Italian peninsula, and then to take how much land that the Roman Empire did. Not the West Roman Empire, the entire Roman Empire, especially before it split. So I've made a list of things. It could be a much longer list. In fact, the list I have goes into even more, is very broad, and I have to go into more detail because there's so many things. Essentially, every aspect of the game is better. I'm not sure, it seems like they tried so hard with Rome 2 to just make sure that anyone who never played it before, just mainstream it, just streamline the shit out of it, and that's kind of what they did. But this is my list. Okay, so from the very top, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen them do. I really don't get it because I had Shogun 2, which is great. And they had really nice skill trees in Shogun 2 for generals and then governors, which will be in Attila, which you'll need to use in Attila and Rome 2. It's the first time they've ever done that. But for generals and governors, the better they do, they get upgrades. And for some reason in Rome 2, the skill trees for your generals and governors, you can't see what's ahead. You can only get one upgrade at a time, and you can't see what's further down the list. In Attila, they've completely fixed that. You have this nice skill tree system. You can see exactly what skill tree line you have to go down to get to your final product, like what's the best trait. Same thing with governors. For some reason, they changed that. They had that in Shogun 2, and for some reason they got rid of that in Rome 2. They completely fixed that in Attila, but it was just one of the strangest design choices that they made. Now, more into skill trees in general, also the building skill lines. Not skill lines, but the building lines. You can actually see what your buildings will become. And this also has to do with the encyclopedia, because I was recently playing Rome 2, and I wanted to see, okay, what's next with this building type. And if you right-click it, you open up the encyclopedia. But for some reason, when you open it up, it's not linked to whatever you're linking it to, if that makes sense. Like, let's say I wanted to upgrade a port. In Attila, if I right-clicked it twice, it would open up the building chart to see what's next for that port. But for some reason with Rome 2, when you right-click it twice, it'll just open up the encyclopedia. So then you have to navigate the encyclopedia, try to find the building line that you're looking for. You have to go Roman Empire, you have to go building types, you have to go to docks, and it's just this whole to-do thing it's honestly pretty discouraging. One of the major things that people had problems with Rome 2 was the political minefield, or lack of. There is very little randomness going on during the time as far as foreign affairs and politics. It's supposed to be Rome. It's supposed to be this huge. You think of Rome, you think of politics, think of Julius Caesar, you think of fighting for the throne. Well, not the throne, but as emperor, you think of politics, and there was just a huge lack of politics in Rome too. That they did. They made many steps further in Attila, and it's kind of embarrassing when I'm playing as the Langobards with one settlement, and I have more political options than if I was playing Total War Rome 2, and if I controlled the entire known world. It's kind of strange. Another thing that has to do with that is there's very little randomness going on in the game at any given time. in Attila, if you start taking settlements, if you start gaining power, you actually have diplomatic negatives, I guess. Diplomatic, like, it'll work against you. So like, if you're a great power, it's like -80 relations with any other faction because you're such a great power. And because of that, some nations that you're not particularly nice to will randomly declare war on you because you're a growing power. Stuff like that never happened in Rome too. You know, stuff like, attacking somebody and their ally coming to their aid to attack you, that happens. That, of course, that happens all the time. But there's a lot less randomness that it makes the game almost more fun because you become a great power, and countries start not liking you, get hostile, then eventually attack you, and that's what kind of makes it fun. There really wasn't that kind of randomness in Rome 2. It was, for the most part, you were starting wars 9 out of 10 times, or at least I was starting wars 9 out of 10 times. In Attila, it couldn't be more opposite. Most of the time, I would be trying to take out a particular faction, and 2 more would attack me, and I would have a huge war in my hands. One of the coolest things I thought about Rome 2 was the unit cards for when you played as Rome. The unit cards for each unit, as you can see in this gameplay, the unit cards look realistic. The units on the bottom, the unit cards look just like their actual counterparts in the battle. But with Rome, you had these unit cards that look like sculptures or something, like carvings of what the Romans would draw them as, like to sculpt them or to carve them into like rock or stone or whatever. But one of the biggest problems I had with that was, if it was just for Rome, that would be fine. But the thing was, they had those unit carving type detail things for every faction. And I thought it was just kind of weird because it made sense for Rome because it was almost like nostalgic, but for, like for the Iceni, it doesn't really make any sense. I thought that was weird, and I didn't have any problem with it when playing as Rome, but I had a problem with it when playing with any other faction. Now, with Attila, they completely fixed that because they've gotten rid of these kind of cartoony looking ones. That is except for the Age of Charlemagne. In fact, I hated it so much that I did play a lot of Age of Charlemagne, but I got really sick of the cartoony looking unit cards. It just kind of made the whole thing kind of feel like it wasn't real. Now, by far the best part about Total War is obviously the battles themselves when you play as them. But one problem I had with Total War, Rome 2, I shouldn't say Total War. One problem I had with Rome 2 was that when you tried to, make formations, for some reason they decided to make the indicators, like when you position your guys, you see what they're, you see like basically it's a ghost of where they will be. They almost seemed to purposely make that color whatever the color of the ground was. This is a pretty small gripe, but it was very annoying because it was like the color of the ghost that where they would go in the ground would be like 2 shades off. It would be very difficult to see where they were going. Now, maybe this isn't a big deal for most of places because it's like it's dirt or it's grass, but especially in the desert where I was fighting, it was impossible, and especially in the snow. We think about it, where does it snow? It snows everywhere, especially if the Roman Empire moving north, everywhere. And it's like invisible. The ghosts of your soldiers, where they're gonna go, are absolutely invisible. Now, if you've ever played Rome 2, you know that the Romans are the strongest faction to play as. Obviously, it's Rome. It's Rome 2. They have the best units. No other faction comes close with the level of excellency that the Romans have in their units. They are unbeatable at times. So the faction balance isn't very good. I remember one particular battle, I had like the best Spartans against like Principes, and I lost. It was a one-on-one battle, and I lost that battle. It was like the Spartans are the greatest trained soldiers in history, arguably, and they lost against average Principes. And I was just like, that doesn't really make any sense. So the faction balance in Rome 2 wasn't very good. It's much better in Attila, although the Romans still do have very good units, but the other units that you could have with other factions, especially barbarian factions, are it's balanced. Because the thing about the Romans is they might not have that great attack, like as far as they won't kill an enemy unit quickly, but they will stand and fight they will stand their ground for a very long time, and they will take casualties slowly. The barbarians are completely the opposite. They do not hold ground. They cannot form a battle line and hold that for very long. They really excel in charging in, doing a ton of damage very quickly, and if they don't win, they're gonna lose very quickly. That's what they excel in. So in that kind of way, it's balanced because you have extremes on two different sides and weaknesses on two different sides. Now, I've played both Rome 2 and Attila for a very long time, like hundreds of hours. I also want to announce that when the Slavic Nations pack comes out on the 25th, also, why did Total War announce these Slavic Nations pack like half a month before it comes out? Usually it's like a week or like a few days, but whatever. So I'm gonna be doing a playthrough with that because I'm really excited, because I was actually noticing while looking through factions you can play as that there really aren't any factions in the East. There's basically some of the desert ones that are in the very south, like all the way south. There's the Eastern Roman Empire, which is just a very hard starting difficulty. There's the nomadic tribes, which I'm not really a big fan of, and then there's the Huns, not the White Huns. The White Huns are all the way in the east. But I'm really excited for these nations because I've kind of always wanted to play as one of those nations in the Baltic area. So I'll be doing that. But I've played both of these games for a very long time. I think they're both pretty good. I think Attila is a much better game in every sense of the word. It's just much better. Like I said, take the structure of Attila, put it into Rome 2, and you have yourself like the best Rome game ever, you know. But in my mind, Rome 1 is much better than Rome 2, just because it didn't have such ambitious goals and not meet them at all. You know, it was a much better game. It did what it said it wanted to do very good. Attila Rome 2 did not. It's still a good game, but it took months to patch and to basically fix the game. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me if you agree in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.